You can also send your questions in the chat as we begin the session. The session is going to be recorded, and we will also disseminate this session to other persons that may have missed the session. So I'm going to introduce our first speaker. I'm going to put up the slide now that you can see. Our first speaker is Melinda Lloyd. Melinda Lloyd has a dynamic history in the Toastmasters organization, having served at the club, area, division, and district levels in various capacities, including club president, vice president education, vice president membership, area director, assistant division director, club growth, club sponsor, club coach, assistant division director, program quality, and currently serves as the Division B director with responsibility for Jamaica, Turks and Caicos, and Cayman. During this time, with a strong engagement and active participation from her club and area, she has led her respective teams to achieve Toastmasters President Distinguished Club for 2015 and 2016, and Select Distinguished Club 2017 and 2018. She's also the 2015-2016 Evaluation Speech Contest National winner, as someone who strongly believes in the power of proper mentorship. In the professional world, Melinda is a project manager with a wealth of experience and expertise in project and process management, strategic planning, and marketing. Melinda is a proud member of a digital group where she serves as an IT project manager. She holds a Master's of Science degree in Management of Information Systems from the Moeller School of Business, University of the West Indies, as well as a Bachelor's in General Management from the same university. She's a certified project management professional, Scrum Master, and Lean Six Sigma Green Belt. Wow, Melinda. She's a proficient in innovative planning and presentation mastery, and eager to learn more as she aims to become a better version of herself every day. Leading and participating in Toastmasters activities forms an integral part of a professional and social diet. Melinda enjoys reading personal development books from authors such as Dale Carnegie, Eckhart Tolle, and more recently, Hal Elrod, Rachel Hollis, and Nir Eyal. She also enjoys watching films from the Marvel and DC cinematic universe with friends and family. She's currently working to get back into running monthly 5Ks, which was once a love of hers after the COVID era. She's super excited about the opportunity to share her experience as someone who has definitely benefited from the Toastmasters program. Toastmasters and guests, please welcome Melinda Lloyd.
Thank you, Madam Host, for that very warm introduction. Joining Toastmasters is one of the best decisions you will ever make. These were the words of past Division Governor Marjorie Gaynor when I first met her. This was at my first Toastmasters National Contest as a guest in September of 2012. I joined that very October. The last 8 years has proven her words to be very true. This is because when you are a Toastmaster, it's like dining in a 5-star restaurant versus a little side shop when you compare the value and experience you get from Toastmasters against a public speaking or leadership course for 3 months. Toastmasters facilitates that continuous process of improvement and self-development as each speech, each project, each path, each leadership or functionary role helps us to grow, always creating better versions of ourselves. I am therefore very excited to have this opportunity to share with you 3 key ways Toastmasters has benefited me and how I know it will benefit anyone and everyone when they make that decision to join and let the Toastmasters program work for them. The first benefit is that being a Toastmaster helped me to build confidence. The second is that it helped me to hone new skills. And the third benefit is that Toastmasters will extend your professional and personal network. So let's look at the first major benefit of being a Toastmaster. It helps to build self-confidence. When I first joined, I was struggling to deliver work presentations without my voice shaking and feeling this horrible knot in my stomach that persons would somehow laugh and my presentation would not be as effective as I intended it to be. Joining Toastmasters allowed me to find my voice and use it. So instead of backing down, I learned to be firm, clear, and coherent in every point, and reminded everyone that yes, I do know my craft and how to present my work. I went from always having this shaky voice to being poised and confident, delivering stellar presentations. In fact, after one of my very first presentations, just a month in joining Toastmasters, my then director was so proud, he elevated my position. This was a turning of the tide for my professional career. How did Toastmasters help? Every time I had to get up to participate in table topics, I learned how to face my audience and think on my feet. And importantly, I learned how to trust myself. This became easier and easier because Toastmasters presented me with a training ground, a learning platform which I could make mistakes without being criticized and reprimanded, but instead evaluated and encouraged. I learned areas I was doing well in so I could continue those good habits. Areas for improvement were also highlighted, so I'd know what I needed to work on next time, so I could be even better. I learned that it was okay to feel nervous when I had to deliver my speeches, but what I could do is channel that nervousness into the right thing. I turned nervous energy into infectious high energy that pulled my audience into my presentation and made them that the more attentive to what I had to say. That is the power of Toastmasters. It builds confident speakers and leaders. Toastmasters also helped me to hone and build new skill sets, and this has enhanced my professional experiences and life on a whole. Through this organization, I have learned how to communicate more effectively. I've learned how to listen more effectively. My critical thinking skills have greatly improved. This organization has also taught me how to deliver structured presentations. I honed my planning and organization skills. I have learned how to effectively evaluate and manage my teams so they can grow and remain encouraged. When it comes to succession planning, I learned that right here. Mentoring, motivation, and team building, even how to deliver toasts and other social speeches, storytelling, these are just a few of the other skills I have learned from this very program. And I promise you, this is not a comprehensive list. In fact, it was while I was serving as a Vice President Education that I discovered a love for planning meetings, organizing events, and strategizing on how to help members learn how to achieve their goals. This experience helped in motivating me to become a project manager. Today, I'm a certified and experienced IT project manager with a defined project management personality. This has given me an edge in delivering results at work and even in other professional endeavors. The pay is really nice too. That is the power of Toastmasters. You get to learn new skills and hone existing ones that can propel your very career. The third benefit is that Toastmasters also helps you to extend your network, as you will be around other professionals from all walks of life, all types of professions that you can think of. You create new relationships, and you never know where that can take you. The relationships you develop here can extend into lifelong friendships, like what I have with my two besties, who were both my mentors when I started Toastmasters. I am so grateful for them and for all the new friendships I've developed along the way. To our guests, prospective members, every single Toastmaster in this virtual room can attest to the power of being a Toastmaster and being a part of this amazing organization. They too can speak for months about the benefits you realize when you join and how you can make this program work for you. It helps to build confidence. You get to learn new skills, and you also get to grow your network and perhaps create lifelong friendships like the ones I have. Trust me, trust us when we say joining Toastmasters is one of the best decisions you will ever make. Madam Host, over to you.
Thank you very much, Melinda, for that excellent presentation. I am just having, I think what is happening here. I'm going to move steadily on to my next speaker. Now, what we are going to do is that we'll have a panel discussion at the end where persons are able to speak and ask questions to our panel after all of our presenters have made their presentations. Our next speaker is Anik Jackman, and I'm just going to share my screen for you to view her bio. Anik Jackman is a charter member of the first club in Cayman, in the Cayman Islands, and the first homegrown distinguished Toastmaster. During her 20 years in the program, she's mentored clubs and many members. She's developed public speaking training for government entities and organizations such as the Miss Cayman Islands pageant. She made history by becoming the first Toastmaster from the Cayman Islands to win the Caribbean District Speech Championship and represented the Caribbean at the semifinals of the World Championship of Public Speaking in 2018. Since then, she's hosted webinars with several world champions of public speaking. And on September 8th, she started to launch the new speakers series for the Caribbean. And many of you I know may have watched or viewed these presentations, and they are excellent. This series consists of conversations with some dynamic Caribbean personalities, from storytellers to YouTube influencers. She's the incoming executive director for the National Trust of the Cayman Islands, and to keep herself extra busy, she's a blogger and an author of a children's book called Donna the Iguana. Toastmasters and guests, join me in welcoming Toastmaster Anik Jackman.
An email popped into my inbox at work, and it was advertising this new club that would help you develop your public speaking skills. And I was intrigued, not because I wanted to learn how to stand in front of an audience and present. Oddly enough, I was comfortable with that. No, I was intrigued because this could be the club that would teach me the art of conversation, that would move me from being a wallflower to a wallflower. Yes, fellow Toastmasters, I don't know if you have guests here, but good evening. Thank you, Madam Host, for having me. You heard me correctly. I was looking for a club that would help me transform from a wallflower to a wallflower. But I need to make a distinction. Wallflower, as in the person, to a wallflower, as in the plant. Now, I do not know if any of you have ever heard somebody be described as a wallflower, and heavens forbid, I hope nobody has ever been described as a wallflower, but I'm going to throw it out. Put your hand in the air if you've ever heard the term used to describe somebody as a wallflower. Toastmaster Crystal, have you ever heard somebody being described as a wallflower?
No, I have not.
You haven't? What about you, our Toastmaster Elizabeth? Have you ever heard somebody being described as a wallflower?
I think I have, yeah.
All right.
A boring person who blends into the wall.
Yes. Somebody who is shy, introverted, awkward. I like Toastmaster Elizabeth's word, boring. And you know, for a long time, that's how I described myself, as a wallflower. I would go to social events and I would try my utmost best to blend with the background. I would cling to the wall. I don't know what happened when I went to social events, but the introvert would come out, especially when I was around groups or people with big personalities. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I love to laugh I have a wonderful sense of humor. I have the most interesting stories, if I may say so myself. But I had to say so myself because I would go to these events and nobody else could say that about me because I was so busy clinging to the wall. And then I would go home and I'd be very disappointed with myself that I'd made no real acquaintance at that event and that I hadn't engaged anyone in any real conversation. So when I saw that email, it was like a godsend, an answer to my prayers, because perhaps this would be the club that would help me transform. So I pulled up to the venue when I knew the meetings were starting. And I signed up very excited because guess what? They had a project on how to develop conversation skills. I believe it's from the Interpersonal Communications Manual, and it was called Conversing with Ease. So I was like, yes, this is the right club. I'm in the right place. I became a charter member when I signed up that evening for the very first club in the Cayman Islands. And I also got wrangled into becoming the very first vice president of education, but that is another story for another time. But when I signed up, I thought I was going straight away to this project on conversing with ease. What I did not know and what no one told me is that I had to do 10 projects, 10 speeches from some manual called the Competent Communicator Manual. Fine, I sucked it up. I did the 10 speeches until I got to the one I wanted, conversing with ease, because I had a plan. My plan was to do this project and then skedaddle out of the club. 20 years later, and I'm still here. And you'll ask me, why are you still here? Because I'm seeing the transformation from a wallflower, the person, to a wallflower, the plant. Our host mentioned a quote earlier, and I wrote it down. I saw my chances of success increase. You see, my ability to hold conversations and engage people in that way was extremely important to my job. I was attending social events constantly. I was expected to mix and mingle. And so, joining the Toastmasters organization, I began to see the transformation into the wallflower plant. I don't know how many of you know this, but the wallflower plant is said to come in the most vibrant colors: oranges, yellows, purples, pinks. It is also said to have a very delightful fragrance that it leaves behind. And moreover, it's a very strong plant. It's drought tolerant or resistant. So why would you use the term wallflower? For it's a plant that is vibrant, colorful, strong, hardy, pleasant to describe somebody who is boring, shy, introverted, awkward. Well, I can't answer that for you all. But what I can say is that my transformation moved me from that place where I was shy and awkward to where I would say I felt more energetic, colorful, vibrant, hopefully pleasant to be around. Hopefully. But the thing is, I saw the results. I remember a few years ago, I was sent to Brazil for a trade show. None of my colleagues traveled with me. I was by myself, first time in Brazil, didn't know anybody. That evening, I decided I was going to, when I landed, I was going to go for dinner at a restaurant that was nearby. And when I got there, it was closed, but it would open in about 20 minutes. So I decided to wait. Two ladies then arrived, and they also decided to wait. And I decided to practice the art of conversation with them. And it turns out that by the time that restaurant opened, my plan to dine alone had changed. I had an invitation to sit and have a meal with those ladies. And there is irony because I discovered in our conversation that those two ladies were going to the same trade show I was attending. So now I had new acquaintances and I didn't feel so alone. And that has rolled on even in my Toastmasters experience. When we go to training, I go to, and I love training the public But when I go to a venue, I don't just get there early to set up. I get there early because I want to see as people come in, whether or not their interests are in that particular training, what they want to learn, who they are, what's their name. And then I use that information in the training itself, calling people by name, sharing little snippets about them as part of the training. And you know what I found? It makes the training more engaging. People find it more personable. They enjoy it more. They learn it more. And it's something that I pass on to other trainers. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. In Toastmasters, we have a little issue sometimes, and I call them seat statistics. People who join Toastmasters, they're all gung-ho. Yeah, I want to be a better public speaker. Yeah, all these wonderful things. And then they get into the club, and all they do is warm their bottom on the seat. And they become a seat statistic because they're not putting in any effort. They're not doing anything with what they're learning. They're not practicing. When you come into this organization as a Toastmaster, it is only as sweet as you make it. And I found that in my journey. The more I practiced and the more I practiced the art of conversation, the more comfortable I became, moving from the introverted wallflower person to the vibrant, colorful wallflower plant. So I hope that you all have a sweet story to tell about how Toastmasters can change your life. But it only comes if you take your hooks in, sink your teeth into it, take everything and practice it, because it becomes lifelong learning. Don't be a statistic, but move forward in the strength of what you're doing so that you too can see that transformation. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how Toastmasters changed my life. Madam Host.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Annie. I really liked what you mentioned about seat statistic, and just reminding everyone that Toastmasters is definitely a lifelong learning journey for all of us. Thank you very much again. I'm just going to continue our program with just sharing 2 points about why you should join Toastmasters. I know most of our speakers have already indicated you become a better public speaker. You face your public speaking fears. You can also practice presentations for other audiences. Everyone has different motivations for wanting to be a better speaker. Maybe you want to hone your presentation skills for your career. Perhaps you want to be able to speak out in your volunteer organization. Or maybe you want to complement your portfolio as an author, a manager, or other professional with speaking gigs. Whatever the case, Toastmasters International is a wonderful laboratory for you to practice your presentation and gain valuable feedback. And practice is very important. And we have provided a framework for you to be able to practice these speeches. Thank you, both speakers so far. I'm so inspired by both of you. I'm already thinking I may need to do another speech on Saturday, which I didn't plan to do, but I've been inspired to practice more by both of your speeches so far. I'm going to continue with just sharing the bio for our final speaker today before we move on to our panel discussion. I know many of you might have so many questions for us. Oops. I think I got the wrong one. Sorry about that, Toastmasters. I'm not, here we go. And our final speaker is none other than our Toastmaster and area director, one of our area directors, Donna Wilkinson Clark. and also repping from Eastern Orators Toastmasters Club. I know many might have a lot to say, but the best club in Barbados. Donna Wilkinson Clark is a multi-talented entrepreneur. She's a marketing specialist, business consultant, facilitator of customer service, sales, marketing, presentation skills, an advisor on business process improvement, and a yoga instructor. Donna led a vibrant sales and marketing department at a leading manufacturing company in Barbados to redesign, expand, and grow its retail division. She's also held marketing, customer service, and sales leadership roles in the telecommunications and financial services industry. Donna is a past president and vice president of education of Eastern Orators Toastmasters Club. She is currently serving as the area director for Area 17. She's passionate about helping women and children, volunteering in various organizations and groups to raise funds and to offer specialized training for those in need. She loves Caribbean cuisine, sea baths, and the arts. Donna believes that life is for living, loving, and learning. Toastmasters and guests, welcome, Donna Wilkinson Clark.
The period 2016 to 2020 feels like a decade to me. It was disturbing, debilitating, and disruptive. I lost so much. I lost family and friends, relationships, my patience, happiness, confidence, courage, weight, and even some of my hair. This period was also illuminating, immersive, and instructive because I gained increased faith, more strength and determination, appreciation for all that I have, excitement as I anticipate all that is to come, discovery of my creative gifts, gratitude for the lessons learned, and found a place where I belong. Now, some may describe these losses as bad luck, but I think that there are somehow lessons designed for better learning, living, and loving. The gains are the result of a combination of maybe my outlook on life, the support of family and friends, some of the groups that I attend, and my Toastmaster experience. Today, I want to share this experience with you. I want to take you on the journey of my Toastmaster life. In April 2016, I joined Eastern Orators Toastmasters Club at the invitation of my friend Dawn. My main purpose at that time was to improve my public speaking skills. I immediately started with my icebreaker speech, then stopped shortly after. Life became overwhelming as I adjusted to time constraints due to school and other personal activities. I never stopped attending club. I stopped speaking. I lost my voice. My fear was greater than my fire. A few months later, I was encouraged by my mentor to participate in the humorous speech and evaluation contest. The experience was exhilarating. Here I was, standing before a group of people that I hardly knew, sharing a personal and funny story about my life. It was natural, yet unreal at the same time. On that same day, as a participant in the evaluation contest, I critiqued a seasoned Toastmaster speech. This was also new to me. I just did it for the fun, never expecting any further results. When the results were called, I placed second in the club evaluation contest. Participating in the contest was the catalyst to reignite a speech fire in me, and I made the decision to complete all 10 of my speeches in the Competent Communicator Manual before the end of the Toastmaster year. I started 2017 with a fierce determination to meet my personal Toastmaster goal. I spoke at almost every meeting, and when contest season came around again, I was encouraged by my mentor and the Vice President of Education to participate in table topics and prepare a speech contest. I placed second in the table topics and went on to represent the club at the area and national contests, placing first and third respectively. Now, with all 10 speeches completed, my goal was achieved. I wondered what next. I didn't have to wait long because in year 2, I was elected to serve as president of Eastern Orators Toastmasters Club for the term 2017 to 2018. At this point, the fears of inadequacy and failure surfaced again. I wondered, how would I be able to manage the club? I was a new Toastmaster. What did they see in me? Well, with the support of a strong executive and our club members, the year was smooth. It was filled with learning about parliamentary procedure, managing conflict, motivating members, planning our annual anniversary celebrations and banquet, getting to know our members, and of course, the invaluable leadership training for executives. I ended that year feeling accomplished and grateful for the opportunity to be part of a group where I could apply all that I learned, not only inside the club, but my personal life as well. Year 3, 2018 to 2019, was my year of recovery. This year, I focused on performing all meeting roles, evaluating speeches, enhancing my listening, critical thinking, and impromptu speaking skills. This year was uneventful. It almost seemed like the calm before the storm. In year 4, I served as Vice President of Education for the period 2019 to 2020, and it has been the most fulfilling role to date. I love seeing members filled with pride as they met their personal Toastmaster objectives. Year 4 also came with a new challenge. Our course changed. We went back to lockdown, and Toastmasters clubs from around the world started to hold online meetings. We had to adjust to not seeing each other face to face and start residing in the online space. Attending some of the international online clubs shifted my Toastmaster life into another gear. Since participating in these meetings, ideas kept coming on how to make my club meetings more exciting, and I learned new applications to use both in club and professionally. In May, after spending most of the year attending to member goals, I started to focus on my goal, to complete level 1 of the motivational strategies path. As I started, it felt like another world opened up. This path was full of valuable content on how to mentor and motivate teams. My term as Vice President of Education ended on June 30th this year, and I entered a new role for the 2020 to 2021 term, which placed me outside the safe space of my club. I've spent 3 months as area director, and I'm amazed at all there is to learn. I will rely on the leadership lessons from previous experiences to help me in this role, along with the supportive team of mentors and area members. I just looked within and shared my Toastmaster experience. But to give it some balance, I wanted to see how others viewed me. I wanted to see if our views aligned. So I conducted a short, informal survey with some of my family, friends, and club members. I asked one question. What change have you seen in me since I joined Toastmasters? The following descriptive words were shared by the respondents. Increased confidence as a person and a speaker. Creative, more eloquent, greater enthusiasm, drive, focus, patience, and guidance. Willing to learn and always asking questions for clarity. Fastidious, placid, and a display of great leadership qualities. I now answer the same question that I posed to my family and friends. How has Toastmasters changed me? My response is, Toastmasters has helped me to find me. Host, Alicia, back over to you.
Thank you very much, Donna. Another amazing and inspiring presentation. And I know that you have found you because you have been one of the shining lights in our club, and definitely one that motivates others to join Toastmasters and continue in their development. Thank you very much. Toastmaster Donna. So now we've come to the part of our session where persons have the opportunity to ask some questions. Now we've already had some questions presented, so I'm going to ask each of our panelists some of the questions that we have received, and then we also look for questions from the participants. I'll just ask you to raise your hand first and don't just ask the question without acknowledgement from the host. So what I'll do, I'll start with Melinda since she was our first speaker. And this question is for you, Toastmaster Melinda. What has been your most memorable Toastmasters experience? What has been your most memorable Toastmasters experience?
That is a very difficult question because as you heard in my presentation, I've had so many amazing.
I know you have.
Right. But if I had to quickly pick out one, I would think I would go back to the beginning. I remember when I just joined, my first club ever was SIPS Communicators Toastmasters Club. And I joined and I saw how everyone was performing. At first, I was not sure how I was going to get started on my journey, but Alston Watson, who was my first mentor ever, he really assisted me. I told you that my boss had actually called me to deliver a presentation and I was freaking out because I'm like, what? Then I remember talking to Alston and saying, Alston, I don't know about this at all. And the first thing he said to me was, relax, Melinda, you're a Toastmaster. And I said, yeah, I'm a Toastmaster. So I did my presentation and I met with him, and Liz knows this very well. We have a conference room at JPS that I was working at the time, and that's where we went. We practiced a couple of times. We went through and I was ready to go. And when I delivered that presentation, at that time it was Keith Smith who was my director, and he was so proud. And I was like shocked. Everyone was shocked at my presentation, but I was more shocked than everybody else. And I was really appreciative of that moment. And then I figured if I could go through this moment and have this success, then I could do it. I could replicate this for other presentations. So I just kept on going and I learned the lessons, and I'm truly grateful. I have Liz on as well. She was my second mentor. She and Alston had a tag team kind of relationship when he came on to be my mentor, and I'm truly grateful. And as I mentioned in my presentation also, I cannot say enough how much I love this organization, and I will continue to invest in it and support as many members so they can have a similar growth experience like I have, or even better.
Thank you, Toastmaster Melinda. I have a question just for you. We just got one of the persons one of the participants asked, how was your experience mentoring your mentees during the pandemic?
That's a very interesting question. I don't think the experience in terms of the approach that we use for our mentor-mentee sessions have changed pretty much. The platform has definitely changed. And what I think has really helped me is that I now have mentors and mentees outside of Jamaica, Cayman, Turks, and Caicos Islands. I have persons that I've really grown to love and appreciate. I have Aisha that's on as well. She has really opened my eyes, I think, to what you can do in this virtual space in terms of persons that you can reach out to and support, and persons who can also support you. So I'd say it hasn't really changed the approach because it's still very structured, we're very serious. What do you want to achieve from Toastmasters? What project are you going to work on? How best can we ensure you're meeting that objective? But the platform has changed because now everything is electronically, and I think I would say everything is now online. And what I also appreciate is that you can now reach a lot more persons. You can extend your network, you can help even more persons than before, and then you also get to benefit from others' experience. So I think that would be my response for this question.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Melinda. Our second question goes to Toastmaster Annie. And that question that was sent was, do you see a need for more people to get trained in public speaking?
Thank you for that question. Absolutely. One of the interesting things for me when I go out into the community is that we would meet people who are absolutely shy. I'd say they're afraid to do public speaking. And then we would meet people who go, I don't need to learn how to do public speaking because I can already speak. I speak a lot. And sometimes I have to snicker to myself because if I know the person, I also know they're in desperate need of Toastmasters. Because we can talk a lot and we can talk in front of an audience, but Toastmasters provides much more. There is this element of structure and organization, because you could be in front of an audience telling us about bacon, but the next thing you know, the cow is flying over the moon and we don't know how you got there. Then there is time management or crutch words, the simple things that we take for granted that we're trained in constantly. Every meeting, those roles are super important. The encounter, the grammarian, the timer guys, those are phenomenal roles because those are the little things that make a difference when we speak. So everybody should get trained in public speaking.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Annie. Thank you. I'm going to pose a question before I open the floor to Toastmaster Donna. And Toastmaster Donna, your question is, with the impact of COVID affecting how we operate in a business environment with less face-to-face and more virtual meetings, what Toastmasters training have you incorporated into your online meetings for work and organizations?
Thank you, Toastmaster Alicia. So as I attended clubs across the world in their online space, I saw some nifty little techniques that they use to make their meetings interesting. And I use some of those. So sometimes I'm a trainer and I would use some of these nifty little tricks and tips, some of these applications to create excitement. Because when you're a trainer, people are usually afraid to be called upon and they are afraid, obviously, of making a mistake in front of their peers. But when you make it excitement, a lot of that inhibition goes away and they feel freer. So what I've done is use some of the applications, or for example, the wheel of names, and make questions and quizzes easier for some of the people that I train. And I found that just seeing how other clubs use these applications just started to stimulate in my mind creative ideas to apply it in my work. And that is what I have done. I've been able to adapt some of the applications and some of the techniques that I see them using in other clubs and apply it into making my own profession and whatever I do a lot more interesting.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Donna. Now we have come where we would open the floor for some questions. We will take about 5 questions. We have about 10 minutes left in our session. So now the floor is open. Remember to raise your hand if you want to ask a question. And while I wait for some questions, I just want to remind everyone, this is Toastmasters International Month, and Toastmasters International Day is October 22nd, where we celebrate. So look out for even more webinars, even more activities as we celebrate Toastmasters International. I'm just waiting for, know that we are not shy. You've had so much motivation, you've had so much inspiration by some of the questions. I see your hand raised by guest Elizabeth. Jordan, you can go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for Annick. I love that expression, seat statistic. And my question to her is, what can one do to motivate these seat statistics and to get them more active in the club?
That's an excellent question. And a special shout out to Toastmaster Elizabeth, because I know it's late in the UK. But there are 2 things that I would like to say about that. One is that one of the things we have to get better at in Toastmasters is drilling down to why people actually join. When I served as vice president, and even now, I say to members of my club, do you know why I'm here? I say to, to the executive, do you know why I'm here? Do you know why I participate? We get people who join our organization and they say very general, generic things. I want to become a better speaker. And we go, yeah! What does that look like? Because for me, that meant conversation, not actually standing in front of an audience. It meant one-on-one engagement and interaction, not actually standing in front of an audience. We had Toastmasters who decided they were not going to be speaking because that's not why they joined the club. And nothing we could do could make them speak because that's not why they joined the club. They joined the club and they had other interests, whether it's through leadership or even doing roles. So the first thing I want to say to us is when you get people join the club and your older members as well, have frank conversation as to why they're in the organization. Make people spell it out. Then you can tailor what they need for their growth. Because then when it's tailored, they're more likely to participate. But there's a second reality, to be fair to this question, and it is that no matter what you do, there are going to be some people you cannot move, because it needs to be internal motivation that goes, I really want to get something out of this. I have to get something out of this. Because no matter what you do, if they haven't come to that place, they will continue to be a seat statistic until they drift away. So always, for all of us, especially an executive, be very, very clear why your members are there so you can properly tailor the programs to them, but also know when it's time to walk away.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Annie. We have two persons raising their hand. Toastmaster Chan Lumet. Thomas, can you go ahead with your question?
Hello, good evening to you. My question is to Toastmaster Melinda. I know Melinda from JPS, so I hope that she remembers me. My question is really, I've known you, Melinda, for a little while now, and as long as I've known you, I've never known you to be a shy person. And I've heard the speeches and they speak about, Toastmasters going out there and being able to speak. How do you just get out of the shyness to start speaking?
Thanks so much for that question, Shannon. Of course, I remember you. I think it's important, Shan, to know who you are and how you are in certain situations. So if an opportunity presents itself, I first try to assess, what exactly is this about? Is this something that I am fully aware of? Is this a topic that I'm comfortable with? And if not, I do my research, speak with persons who may be more familiar, and then ensure that I'm prepared and deliver as best as I can. It also helps when you practice table topics, because sometimes you're in a situation where you're called on at last minute to just make a presentation. Once you get into the habit of learning to think on your feet and knowing that you will always present your best self, you'll also be honest and open when you just don't know, it will help you to learn how to have the exact right thing that you need to say in that moment. I've also learned that if all else fails, just be open and honest about where you are and always know that you can do some research later on and provide the information. I go back to what I said before. It's about knowing who you are and getting prepared as best as possible. Where you're not prepared, if you're continuously practicing like how we do in our table topic sessions, then you'll be able to handle it. And worst case, you're just not aware. You just don't know, but you can find out, you know exactly who you need to talk to, and you can come back to whoever that person is who may have asked you. But I think it's really about just trusting yourself, and being a part of this program, Shan, is the best way to learn how to do just that, because the practice opportunities we have here is simply amazing. This is your training ground, and I would not ever, I don't think I could give anyone any advice outside of that. Just keep on practicing, keep on growing, and then ensure as best as possible that you remember that this is your opportunity to be the very best version of yourself. So go out there and do great things.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Melinda, for answering that question. We also had a question from Maria Madura. Can you go ahead with your question?
Yes, good evening all. I have a question for Toastmaster Donna. Can you just mention maybe three things that you saw in other meetings and that you applied, please?
Thank you, Toastmaster Maduro. One of the things I liked that I saw was the use of technology. So I would have attended a meeting in Ghana, and I would have seen how they use technology to create excitement. So they had the regular business session, but when it came to the education session, and the table topics, they would have used like the wheel of names and used different, created excitement and hype around the table topics. So I like that, because in a learning institution, you need to really target different audiences. And sometimes because it is so structured, you may see the same thing all the time. And I found that that created an excitement and it showed their creativity. The other thing was sometimes the way they delivered their speeches as well. In the Caribbean, we tend to be very prepared and really structured, but there's an easygoing way sometimes that I see they speak. It really comes naturally, and I'm not able to find a word to define it right now, but there's a way that they are able to speak and a way that they project themselves. And I liked that as well, because you are able then to fit into different circumstances and in different environments. And what's the third thing? Let me think. One of the third things I would have seen is the welcoming of guests. So prior to coming online, our meetings were pretty close and restricted to those people in our area. But when we became online, we kind of still kept to ourselves and within our area. And I realized clubs outside of the Caribbean allowed us to, they welcomed guests and they allowed us to perform roles, and they wanted a different flavor because they understood that that also created a different dynamic in their club. And that's one of the things I learned as well, because then as vice president of education, I was able to invite and allow others to come into our club and share and hear different speeches and perform different roles. So I think that those are the three things. Allowing others to come into the club, using the wheel of names, and you've heard me say this is like the second or third time. I really like that. I think that's quite exciting. And you can check wheelofnames.com and you can use it in table topics, or maybe like a brown bag session where members, you spin a wheel. There's nobody who has a role assigned. You spin a wheel and whoever name it lands on, they can select a role. For me, that's exciting. It's different and it stimulates it. And what was the third thing? The third thing was, so those were the two things. And obviously the speeches, the way that they were able to speak and be really fluent and in a casual, but yet a way that you were able to reach and create some diversity within their clubs. Thank you very much. I hope I'm able to answer that question for you.
Yes, indeed, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Donna. Now, I think that was the end of our questions. I don't see any more questions here. I'm not sure if you do. No? I don't think we have any more questions right now. Oh, I see Ruth Williams. Are you going to ask a question before we wrap up?
Hi, Alicia.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm fine. Alicia, I have a question for all three speakers. Is that okay?
Yes, we'll try to get that done. No problem.
Okay, we all know the benefits of Toastmasters, and all three speakers alluded to that. And I would like to know from all three speakers, where else do you see yourself ending up with the skills that you now have as a Toastmasters professionally? And that I mean outside of Toastmasters. Where would you eventually like to end up thanks to Toastmasters?
Okay, so we'll start with Toastmaster Annie.
Thank you. Very good question. Our host actually alluded to this in my introduction, but I believe in taking everything that I've learned in Toastmasters and applying them outside of Toastmasters. You know, any Toastmaster who would be here from Cayman, special hello to all the few who are in here, I see them, would hear me say from time to time that we have fooled ourselves into thinking that what we learn in Toastmasters is only applicable in the room in which we practice. In fact, part of the success of Toastmasters is what we do outside of the room. So I started with these webinars, and it's been a phenomenal opportunity. And within the Toastmasters context, I was hosting webinars with the world champions of public speaking. But then I had a dream, because I'm a big fan of master classes. And anybody who follows master classes, you know, there's several formats, but the whole idea is that you get somebody who's an expert in their field, a celebrity, whatnot, and you have conversations with them, or they teach this class, and you as the audience member, you leave inspired with tips on how you better yourself professionally and personally. And I had this vision of master classes, but within the Caribbean context. So I took all the training from Toastmasters and hosting webinars, and have applied that now into launching the speaker series, which our host mentioned, and that's Caribbean master classes. So now I'm having conversations, with very extraordinary people in our region, helping, you know, listening to them and sharing with them as they tell their story, but also give tips to the attendees on how they're better themselves. And that's where I have my vision and my goal, that's something that becomes established. And that started in Toastmasters, but now has come where it's bigger and it's blooming outside of Toastmasters, because who I'm interviewing and speaking with and my audience is growing beyond Toastmasters. So it's an excellent question, and that's an example I'm sharing of how I'm taking this knowledge that I sunk my teeth into and making it work for me outside of the club.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Annie. We're then going to Toastmaster Melinda.
Thank you, Madam Host. I would say Toastmaster Bruce, two specific areas that I know I'm going to go into based on my experience in Toastmasters. The first is I'm going to have my own talk show host, be my own talk show host and run my own show. I have fallen in love with that. I didn't even know that was something I would ever do, but I've gotten a chance to try some pathways, and I found that this is something that I really love. And I'm also working with my mentor, who is actually within that field, and she has been helping me to understand how to get into that world. But it really started with my Pathways projects. Something as simple as that could create a whole new world for you. I'm also going to be running my own company. With all these skill sets that I'm learning, all these leadership opportunities, I am leveraging every single thing. When I tell you that this is a training platform, fellow Toastmasters, you can do almost anything. I really think this is one of the best things that has ever happened to me, and I'm going to keep on making it work for me.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Melinda. Toastmaster Donna?
Thank you. And I think it's an excellent question. As an entrepreneur, I have a number of services that I offer, and a lot of it, or some of it, has come from my experience as a Toastmaster. So I offer speech writing, I help prep for presentations, and I help with executive coaching and mentorship across the Caribbean. When I started Toastmasters, the first year of Toastmaster, I became a published author. And I have a few more titles in my head. And as I started Toastmasters, it really honed in and helped me to refocus on how I wrote. I thought I wasn't bad. I was okay at first, but when I became a Toastmaster, the structure changed. I had to think differently. I had to write differently. I had to be objective. And as I did that and became a published author, that fire is still there. So I have planned a few more books to come out, and there a few of them are in my head, and they're getting ready to go on paper. So that's in the future, and that's an objective that I have. I'm also going to focus more on my coaching, executive coaching, because from doing the motivational strategies path, I recognize how important the mentorship, the emotional intelligence, a lot of self-introspection took place. And that helped to guide me to develop some more content for executive coaching. So that is how I plan to use some of what I've learned in my professional life.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Donna. This was indeed a very inspiring and motivational session today. And I know that many persons who have joined who are not Toastmasters definitely are ready to sign up. I myself feel that if I need to start over again, because I'm so inspired by the speakers and how they have motivated me now to do better, to continue practicing my speeches, and maybe not shy away from table topics, which is something that I really don't like. Thank you very much to all of our guests, all of our participants, all of our speakers. Special thanks to Toastmaster Crystal, who would have assisted, and all the members of the executive of Eastern Orators who would have, oh, sorry, there's some questions coming in, who would have put this session together. So how do you sign up? So what you can do, there are many ways you can sign up. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and you can also leave your contact details in the chat box and we will reach out to you. Now, many persons have been asking about the recording of this session. We will make sure that is shared on our social media pages for all persons to receive that link that you can watch if you would have missed any part of the presentations. I just want to say this was very inspiring. We are really thankful for the panel. I think we selected a great set of speakers and we are very thankful that you all enjoyed it. I don't know if any of the other speakers want to have any final word before we wrap up?
If I could, just to say, I put it in the chat, but just to say thank you so much for the invitation and for hosting us. This has been an excellent evening. And thank you to the audience for all of your questions and comments in the chat. I've been trying to follow that as well. And a special shout out to my fellow panelists. It has been an honor to be able to share this moment with you. So thank you all.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Annie. Definitely. Toastmaster Donna and Melinda, I don't know if you have anything you want to say before we wrap up.
Just one thing. Oh, please go ahead, Donna, go ahead.
So I am I am really honored to be able to share my story with you. I know the others, I was telling them, I felt really nervous. And I always do before a speech, but it usually comes from my heart. And because it comes from my heart, it makes me feel that there is something worthwhile. So I had started a poem, which I didn't get to say. And those at Eastern Orators would know that I love poetry. And
Yes, we do.
Since I started my Toastmaster journey, I have been writing a lot more poems. So one of the things I'm going to publish is a book of poetry. So I just want to share a part of a story because I have to finish it. And it goes like this. Has no name, but it goes like this. There was once a girl who lost her voice. Her fears made her feel like she had no choice. Instead of making a retreat, she determined that there would be no defeat. Of her goals and dreams, she wanted to squash her silent screams. So she found the Toastmasters Club in the East. It was a place where she found her peace. She discovered her purpose and her talents in surplus. She realized her potential. The speech tools were essential. This club was her safe space where she did not have to save face. And I have to complete the rest of this poem. But I thought that this is an experience, my experience, and it needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, but it really speaks about what Toastmasters has done for me.
And Madam Host, if I may, you've heard from Distinguished Toastmaster Japman, and you've heard from our superstar Donna, and that was really lovely, Donna. I think it just highlights how important an opportunity we have as members of Toastmasters. And if you are one of those persons who may be seat warmers or seat statistics, as Toastmaster Japman referred to it, you need to get up and leverage this program because there's so much that you can achieve by just making it work for you. If you need any advice, you have awesome persons like Alicia and Crystal who will support myself. Annick and Donna are here for you, and we have superstars on like Liz Naru and like Akanke There's so much that you can do with this program, but do not waste it. A lot of persons are not fortunate enough to have the platform we have, so we have to make it work for us. And again, thank you so very much to everyone who organizes. Alicia, thank you so much. And for Crystal and Roger for the connection. It really means a lot that we got a chance to share our experience and hopefully to inspire yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone. And we look forward to seeing. What I'm going to ask Crystal is if she can put our email address in the chat box. So anyone that wants to reach out can reach out to us at Eastern Narrators Toastmasters Club. I'll let her put it in the chat box that we have that there. So thank you again. Thank you for joining us. And we are going to definitely do another session like this again. And we look forward to many persons who are here who never knew about Toastmasters joining a club in your area. Thank you for all those in England. I know persons in England, I know that definitely would have been, you really want to see the session, because what time is it in England? Is it past midnight now? I believe it is. So thank you very much. Thank you for all of our Toastmasters who were visited from around all of the countries, all the other islands. And that's one thing I think that one good thing that COVID has done is connecting the Toastmasters from within international, regionally. And I mean, you're able to attend meetings all over. So I think that's one good thing we definitely have. So thank you, everyone. I think Toastmaster Crystal would have just put the email address there, Eastern Narrators, Toastmasters@gmail.com. Thank you again for all the presenters, and have a great Sunday and an awesome week. Thank you. Thank you again, Donna, Melinda, and Annie.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Host. Thank you. Alicia, sell off.
Excellent job, Alicia. And
thank you very much.
Three presenters.
I was finally able to get them pinned together. Spotlighted together.
Donna, Alicia, Anik, and Melinda, beautiful presentations. I also thought it was timely because of Toastmasters month and our celebrations.
Yes.
And it is not only for new members or persons that you want to join Toastmasters, but I think it was also timely for new members and some members who might have lost their voice along the way or lost some way along the path. So I think we had quite a few Toastmasters present as well. And I'm sure they might be rejuvenated and have this fresh.
I definitely, Crystal, I'm going to speak on Saturday.
Yes, there you go.
Thank you so much. It has been very inspiring.
I saw Jillian. Jillian is still here?
Toastmaster Jillian, I don't know if she's there. No, it doesn't seem that way.
Oh, that was
I
great.
see. No, she's not there anymore.
Yes, when we started to plan it, we really wanted to motivate people who are not Toastmasters, but attest to the fact that even fellow Toastmasters were very encouraged and motivated. And I really appreciated the speeches.
Juanita, you're a Toastmaster? Juanita's.
No, I am not a Toastmaster, and I still in your conversation. I should leave.
No, I saw your name. I saw your